I'd like to read a passage from a book today about why we should plant native plants and trees in our yards instead of exotic ornamentals. And so this passage is coming from Urban and Suburban Meadows, Bringing Meadowscaping to Big and Small Spaces by Catherine Zimmerman. And in turn, this passage is from an interview she did with Douglas Tallamy, a professor and chair of the Department of Entomology and Wildlife Ecology, the University of Delaware. So here it is. Absolutely every animal on this planet obtains its food directly from plants by eating a plant or indirectly by eating something that ate a plant. Plants are the only organisms that can capture the sun's energy and turn it into food. The most important group of animals, in that they take energy from plants and pass it to other animals, are insects that eat plants. We'll call them insect herbivores. Most insect herbivores are only able to eat a particular group of plants, and we call that specialization. They can only eat the plants that they have co-evolved with because plants defend themselves with nasty chemicals, and it takes long periods of time for insects to develop the physiological ability to digest those chemicals. When we create a meadow, we are in effect restoring an ancient food web. This works best if we use the native plants that were originally part of that food web. We favor native plants because the insect herbivores that have evolved in your meadow's location evolved in concert with those native plants. They have specialized on those native plants over many, many thousands of years, which have enabled those insects to eat them. Those same insects have no evolutionary exposure to plants that evolved in China and Europe. They won't be able to eat these plants. They won't be able to digest them. They won't even recognize them as food plants. So if you are creating a meadow, choose meadow plants that are native to your area of the country. A good example of an insect that specializes on one group of plants because of that plant's chemistry is the monarch butterfly. It eats milkweeds and nothing else because it's able to break down the nasty chemicals that are in milkweeds. But it is unable to digest any other type of plant. If we cut milkweeds down, then monarch larvae can't crawl off and eat some other type of plant. 90% of our insects are specialists, just like the monarch. So, if we destroy the plants that these insect herbivores have specialized on, they will have nothing to eat and will be doomed to extinction. Stop and think about it. So many animals depend on insects for their food. All amphibians eat insects. So do many of the reptiles and rodents. 96% of our terrestrial birds rear their young on insects. If we replace our native plants with non-native plants, then all of those animals won't have enough to eat. That will greatly affect biodiversity. That is exactly what we have done by creating lawns and landscaping with non-native plants that evolved outside our local ecosystems. Remember what a meadow is all about. It's not just a beautiful place, but also a place where things can live. Living things have two requirements. They need food and they need a place to live. Your meadow provides both. It provides food because of the plants that you have put in your meadow. If you put many different types of plants in your meadow, there will be a diversity of food for a diversity of insects. There will also be a diversity of natural enemies that will eat those insects. The meadow provides habitat, hiding places, those little niches where birds and other meadow creatures can nest and rear their young. Planting a native wildflower meadow is so much more beautiful and dynamic, both structurally and in terms of the species, than planting a monoculture such as a lawn. Somebody once said that gardening is a way of showing you believe in tomorrow. I think that has never been more true than today, because the way we garden, the way we create places like meadows, is going to depend or determine what life looks like tomorrow. So, the native plants don't just work in meadowscaping. It works in forest ecosystems anywhere. So it doesn't have to just be native wildflower meadows. Native overstory trees and understory trees and shrubs are the way to go.